All right, go. All right, what's up, everybody? So recently, the MCU has put out two projects, Loki Season 2 and The Marvels. Therefore, since I like Marvel and I watched pretty much all their stuff, I figured now would be a good time to do a tier list rating all of their projects. And I'm joined today by No Goodnick, who has also been a pretty big Marvel fan up until Endgame. He's seen all the movies until Endgame. So he's going to be helping me out today. What's up?
I used to be an MCU fan. Now I'm kind of not, but you know.
But we can still
like some movies.
still cover their great stuff from years past.
Yeah, agreed.
Okie dokie. Oops. All right. Let me just minimize this. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started with the one that started it all, Iron Man. Right off the bat, I'm putting this one in peak. This movie is amazing.
Actually, really?
Oh, you don't like it?
I don't. No. I like it. I think it's good. I just don't think it's peak. I think the one main issue I have with it is the villain. I don't really like him.
That's fair. I still think the villain's like serviceable. I think the actor, what's his name again?
I forgot.
I forgot the actor's name too. Oh yeah, Jeff Bridges. I think he does a pretty good job. Like, the villain's not terrible, but yeah, I think it would have been better if they built him up over multiple movies instead of just one and done. So I do get that, but
Felt a little rushed.
But besides that, I think this movie works on almost every level. I think it does a great job introducing Tony Stark. They do a great job showing his journey from a self-centered, selfish person to someone who wants to fight for the right thing. And obviously, Robert Downey Jr. is just incredible as Iron Man. I think one good thing about this movie that really separates it from the rest of the MCU is how standalone it is. Like, you can watch this one without anything else. If the MCU did not exist, like let's say Iron Man bombed at the box office and they didn't make any more movies, it would still be good on its own. And to me, that just gives something extra points if it's good and it's standalone. So for me, I definitely really like this one. But Nick, where would you put it?
I would put in great, but I don't mind putting in peak. I think it's a really good movie. I mean, okay, the villain is decent, but the problem I have with him is that he kind of set a precedent for like every other villain in like every other MCU film. A lot of them kind of have the same tropes, have the same character. A lot of them are one-offs. Like I think in a way on its own this movie is fine, but it kind of, I don't know. I feel like it sets up kind of a trope for like the rest of the films that I personally don't really like.
Yeah, I
do agree. The story is really good.
I definitely get that. The villains and a lot of the tropes that they follow, they definitely warrant a lot of criticism. But still, I take them over the villains we're getting nowadays. I'll just say that.
Yeah. No, I think it's good. I think it's a really good movie. I don't really have like any major issues with it other than like the fact that it's set a precedent, but if you look on the movie on its own, which is what I usually do, unless it's we'll get into it because there's a movie on this list that I have a very, very strong opinion on, but yeah, I think it's good. I think putting in peak is justified. I think that's fair.
Cool, just as long as we're in agreement. All right, next we have the Incredible Hulk. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this one.
Weird.
This is a pretty divisive movie.
the thing is, I actually when I first like heard about it, I didn't even know it was an MCU film.
Yeah, it's
Like
it's so distinct. Like it does not feel like it's an MCU movie.
It's so different from every other one, and I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. I guess if on its own, it's a fine movie. It's like Iron Man in that sense, where you can watch it on its own. But if you watch it along with the rest of the MCU, I think it kind of ruins the film a little bit. I don't know. I think the visuals are okay. I think Hulk looks... I actually kind of like the Hulk design in this one.
Yeah.
But...
I like that Hulk is like more monstrous in this movie compared to Ruffalo Hulk.
I don't really like Ruffalo Hulk, if I'm gonna be honest. I like him in the first one, but then after that, I think they kind of ruined it.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
I actually quite like this movie. I think it gets a lot of unwarranted hate. It is very different, but I enjoy it for that aspect. I think I appreciate that it's more distinct. I actually like the love interest in this movie, Betty Ross. I think her dynamic with Bruce works. It works pretty well. I like Abomination. He's a fun villain.
I've forgotten a lot about this movie. Honestly, it's been a really long time.
I'm surprised I remember all that stuff. It is kind of forgettable. And I would say the action's pretty good. Which for a Hulk movie, that's what I want, you know. And I think Edward Norton is a better Bruce Banner than Mark Ruffalo. I think he left because there were some creative differences between him and Marvel. So it's too bad that he didn't stick around. I still like Ruffalo, but I think I liked Edward Norton a bit more. Where do you think we should put this movie?
I wouldn't mind. I think either good or mid. I don't think it's great.
Yeah, I don't think it's great either. I think we should put it in good. Because I don't think there's really any super big problems with it. It's just not that memorable, and it's very different. Those are really the biggest problems, and those aren't too bad. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I think it was okay. I just don't remember a lot of it, so I don't really have the highest opinion on it, or the best opinion on it.
Alicia says, I think my favorite MCU stuff is the Avengers, Doctor Strange, the first one, and Thor Ragnarok. I really like all those movies as well. We'll see where they land on the list. Okay, next up we got Iron Man 2. Where do you think we should put this one?
This is the guy with the villain with like the "Don't touch my bird" guy. I
want my bird.
Yeah, this guy. That guy's funny, but aside from that, I kind of forgot what happens in this movie as well.
Do you remember Justin Hammer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was in this one. I like him. I think
wasn't Musk in this one? Elon Musk.
Oh yeah, he was.
I don't know. This one's okay. I think it's my least favorite Iron Man movie though.
Definitely. For a while, until Phase 4 and 5, I think this was easily the worst MCU movie. I think its biggest issue is that it tries to set up too much. It has like several different plot lines going on. I think Tony Stark's really unlikable in this movie for like the first half of it. It still has fun action. The cast is still pretty good. But there are substantial issues with it. I think it's because this movie was rushed. It came out only 2 years after the first Iron Man, which was kind of rushed when we're talking about sequels. Usually MCU movies take like 3 years to come out. And I definitely felt that they were trying to set up a lot with this movie, so it was definitely kind of weak one. But I don't think it's a bad movie. If it were up to me, I'd put it in mid. Where do you think we should put it?
Yeah, I would even say mediocre, honestly. I mean, I guess I haven't seen the rest of the film, so I can't really say, but for me, at least, it's... Like, from what I've seen, I'd probably put it in bad, but...
Dang!
I mean, I haven't seen the rest of them, so I can't... So, comparing to everything else, I would put in, like, bad, but...
Oops.
I guess it was an awful film, but, I don't know. I didn't really like it. It was...
We'll put it in mediocre for now, I guess.
Okay, I agree with that.
Alicia says, hold up there, Thor Dark World is worse. I think
Oh, I remember that. I remember
don't know.
that movie.
I don't think Thor: The Dark World's worse. I'm kind of defending it recently because I think the Thor and Loki stuff in it really works.
Oh yeah, I like
think
their dynamic.
I like more about Thor: The Dark World than I do about Iron Man 2, so that's why that's why even before Phase 4 I still thought Iron Man 2 was worse. But we'll get to it. Next, what do we have? We have Thor 1.
Thor. Yeah, this one is. It's okay. It's just okay. It's kind of boring at times, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I understand the Earth part with the romance with Jane Foster. I don't think their chemistry was the greatest, so
Yeah,
I definitely
felt very
understand.
forced.
Yeah.
I do like what they do with Loki though, as well, like Thor and Loki together. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I really like Thor as a character, but him like these earlier movies with him are just he goes on a roller coaster.
He
goes
does.
on a rise and fall and then he goes on a fall. Wait, no. He starts whatever. He goes like on a fall to rise to fall kind of arc.
Yep.
And I don't know.
And
I
now
feel like,
he's in the trenches again.
Yeah. I feel like this movie was kind of boring, and I like Thor as a character, like from like the comics and stuff. He's pretty cool there, but in this one he was just kind of a stubborn jerk, I guess. I don't know.
I would say I'm more positive.
likable.
I'm more positive on this one than you are. I think last time I watched this movie was a year ago in preparation for Love and Thunder, and I actually quite enjoyed it. I thought it was a good introduction to the space side of the MCU, introducing the cosmic.
Oh yeah.
And I actually did like a lot of what they were doing with Thor, setting him up as an arrogant kind of guy, and then sending him to Earth and humbling him. I thought it was a cool arc, though it was kind of rushed, and I didn't really believe that like he only knew Jane for 2 days or so, and he wanted to. That seemed a bit rushed to me. But I do think a lot of this movie really works. I think it's beautifully shot. Yes.
Yeah, I do remember the cinematography would be good. The animation was really good, like the CGI.
Yeah, dude, the CGI of the early MCU, like it really holds up, especially compared to modern times.
I've seen the CGI in like the newer ones, and it is just.
What have we fallen to?
I know it's so. It's bad.
Man, this movie has one of my favorite scenes in the MCU with where Odin takes away Thor's powers. I think that scene's brilliant, and I think the acting is just incredible from Anthony Hopkins and Chris Hemsworth. So yeah, I would say I like this movie, but I definitely understand why some people don't like it, why you, Nick, aren't as high on it. I would think we should put it in good, considering your gripes and my praise.
I don't hate it. Like it's not a bad movie. I think it's fine. I think for what it is, it's okay. I'll agree. I'll put it in good as well.
All right. And yeah, Tina, I also liked the big silver thing that shot stuff from its face. That was cool. All right. Wow, we still have a lot. Captain America: The First Avenger. I love this movie.
I love it too. I absolutely
yes,
agree.
I'm so happy we agree on this one.
The ending is probably the best of any MCU film, and yeah, I personally think it's a great film throughout, and then the ending is peak.
Absolutely.
Peak.
Yeah, I
so
absolutely love this movie. I love how it
really
sets
good.
up Cap. He's just a great, wholesome character who just wants to do the right thing, and it's just incredibly compelling to watch. I
love the setting. I think the setting is really cool.
I agree. I love how the movie looks as well. Like, it really feels like a film from it doesn't feel like a film from the 40s, but it feels like it's set in the 40s, which definitely gets a lot of praise from me. I would put it in great, or I think we should put it in great because I don't quite think it's peak, but I think it's still an awesome film.
I'd say there's some, like, I'd say throughout the whole runtime it's great, but the ending definitely is what really carries it. So, like, I don't even know. I feel like the ending is just really, really good on this one.
Yeah, definitely top tier MCU ending. Yeah, we'll put it in great. Next up, we have the Avengers.
I mean, it's kind of the film that blew up the MCU to be as big as it is, I would
Yeah,
say.
I feel like we have to put it
Um,
in at least great.
yeah, I like it, but I think the story was a little basic, like in some parts.
Yeah, but I don't really mind that because
Yeah, I don't either. I
we
think,
come to this movie to watch all the heroes team up. We don't really need a super complex
yeah.
plot.
I think for that I think it's perfectly fine.
hmm I think the
It's good.
biggest
I
issue
think
with
it's
this
really
movie is that like the first half hour or hour or so, it kind of drags a little bit where they're first introducing
Yeah.
Loki and bringing him onto the helicarrier. But uh, besides that, I think it really works. The dialogue is just fantastic. This movie perfectly blends all the different genres and characters together. Like it blends Iron Man's quips and snark with Steve Rogers and Thor and Black Widow. So I think this movie really works, and it's very entertaining, of course, with the third act final battle in New York. Um,
Yeah.
I think I'll put it in great.
Yeah, I agree. I think this. I do wish the story was a little bit better, but I don't mind it like too much. I think it's still a really fun watch. And it's also another film you could probably watch on your own. Like you can watch this one like on its own. Like in a way, the characters all kind of get introduced. I know
Yeah.
technically, if you watch the rest of them, you get a better introduction, but they still do a good enough introduction where it's like you could watch this film on its own.
Yeah, this was a lot of people's first MCU movie, and I think it works really well, even if you haven't seen any of the other movies, so that's definitely a big positive. Alright, next up we have Iron Man 3. I'm curious what you think of this one, because this one's also kind of divisive.
I like this one actually. I think it's good. I really do.
I like it as well.
I think it's really fun. It's a really fun movie.
Yeah. I don't think Killian is a good villain. He's
No, not really.
he's pretty lame. I don't really care.
Funny.
I don't really care about the Mandarin twist. Like, I know a lot of people got
Yeah.
mad, but it didn't really bother me. What bothered me more was that the actual villain just wasn't very good. I thought it was an interesting exploration of Tony's PTSD, but I thought it was really weird that it tried to serve as an end to his character, even though he still had so many years left ahead of him.
Yeah. I feel like that one. I feel like they were trying to like. I don't even know what they were trying to do.
I think they didn't know if Robert Downey Jr. was going to come back, so they tried making it an end just in case. But that just makes it feel really weird when you're rewatching it.
Yeah.
But I still think it's pretty entertaining. I would say good. What do you think?
I agree. I think good is justified.
To be honest, all Iron Man movies were good. Yeah, I would say. I mean, I think Iron Man 2 is not that good. I would say Iron Man 2 is like mid. I wouldn't really call it good, but they're still serviceable at least. Okay, next up, Thor: The Dark World. For years, this was widely considered the worst MCU movie, and man, do I wish this was still the worst MCU had to offer, because boy, have things gotten worse.
This one is. I don't know. What even was the plot on this one? Like, I forgot this movie. I almost forgot this movie existed in a way.
Yeah, they have to stop Dark Elves, who are some of the worst villains in the MCU because they're just very forgettable, no motivations, they don't have a cool design. Yeah, I don't know. It's like competently made, like it's well shot. CGI is good. The baseline stuff I expect from a movie, it satisfies. But other than that, there's not really much really I can say that's good about it. Other than, like I mentioned, I think Thor and Loki have a really good dynamic in this one. And I think their interaction after their mother is killed by the elves, I think it's compelling. And that really does do a lot for this movie for me, but otherwise, I don't think it's very good.
I don't either. I didn't really like this one, and I don't really like how they kind of ended. I mean, didn't they like end Thor and Jane's like relationship in this film, kind of?
No, they ended it off screen in Ragnarok, and then they brought it back for Thor: Love and Thunder.
Okay.
Let's put it in mediocre because we put Iron Man 2 in mediocre.
I agree. I think it's as bad. To be honest, I didn't really like it. I thought Thor was very one-dimensional in this one.
Yeah.
And he wasn't really given characterization like in the first one.
I think
Thor
in Thor: The Dark World and Age of Ultron was pretty dull.
Yeah, he didn't really have a character. He really didn't.
All right.
He seemed like the big, strong, guy with a hammer, and that was about it.
Yeah, just very bland.
Yeah.
Next up, Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
I actually really, really, really like this movie.
There's no question about it. I think we got to put it in peak.
Really? Actually, I wouldn't mind that.
I think so.
The writing in the Captain
fantastic.
America movies is so good. It is. They have really good writing. Well, we'll talk about that.
I think this movie is great. I think what it does
good.
really well is it takes Cap, a man of his time, and puts him in a more complicated gray time period where like the people that he once thought were his allies, like the government and SHIELD and stuff, it's revealed that he can't be so trusting. I think this movie has excellent action scenes, of course. Winter Soldier's pretty cool. Yeah, I think everything that's good about it has already been said. Just an awesome movie.
It's a really, really good movie. Really good writing, really good story. Everything is done really well in it. The visuals are nice as well.
Yeah.
And I really.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you, sir.
I like how, as you said, like they show that he can't be so trusting. It's kind of like it's showing as well how it's kind of like in real life with governments, companies, and like that. And I like that. I like that. I think it's a really good movie. I think it's really solid.
All right. Yeah. Alicia says I like it, but there are some there are a couple plot issues. Yeah, I'm sure you can I'm sure there's some stuff like I think some critiques that have been stated were like the consistency of revealing that they were SHIELD that SHIELD was Hydra the whole time. It doesn't hold up or something. But I don't think there's anything too egregious. Yeah, I think let's move on to Badcc, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, this might be my personal favorite movie from the MCU. I love this movie.
Absolutely.
I love it.
It is absolutely phenomenal.
The music, the visuals, the colors, the characters, the humor, everything is so good. It can stand on its own as well, which I really like. 'Cause I know people who aren't fans of the MCU who love these films.
Yes,
like,
yes.
They are so good. I think the two that I've seen are really good. I'm just gonna say that. I need to watch the third.
Yes, yes. My uncle, he's like not a huge MCU fan, but he loves these movies.
Absolutely.
These were, I think, the first MCU movie I watched was Black Panther, and then after that we watched Guardians of the Galaxy. And they're a great on-ramp to the MCU, I feel like.
Yeah. I really like this. Like, I actually prefer the Guardians of the Galaxy, like the characters, to the Avengers. Just because they're funnier, they have better chemistry. They also characterize them a lot better, which I actually really like.
Yeah,
like,
I think they're more consistent. Really, like, there's nothing as weird as like Thor, who's had a very up and down journey.
They're very consistent with the writing, which I really appreciate.
Alright. Yeah, we'll put it in peak.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have Age of Ultron. This is an interesting one.
When did I watch this film? This must have been a few years ago, actually. I thought it was okay. I thought it was good when I originally saw it, but I don't know. I liked Ultron actually. I thought he was a pretty cool villain, and the thing is, I kind of wish they didn't like get rid of him in like the single film. I wish they brought him back for other stuff because he actually is a pretty cool villain.
He is. If I don't know if you know about What If, the animated series, but there's a scenario where it's like basically what if Ultron won, and it basically led to him getting the Infinity Stones and becoming the most powerful like villain in the multiverse. It was pretty cool, and it actually made me appreciate this movie a bit more, and Ultron as a character. I think this movie.
I thought his writing was actually pretty good in this film. I thought he was done pretty well. I thought his motivations were pretty clear. I just don't like some of the plot. Like, some of the plot just feels really strange. A lot of the scenes feel really weird.
Yeah, I agree. I think even with Ultron, one of my problems with him is that he's not really that threatening. Because, like, in every battle with him, he always gets defeated. And that's something I really dislike with movies. If, like, every single time the villain has a scene, they always get beaten. Like, if the movie doesn't take the villain seriously, then why should I take the villain seriously? As for the plot, I think this movie suffers from the same thing as Iron Man 2, where they want to set up a bunch of future movies. Like, this movie sets up Thor Ragnarok, Civil War, Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, and in my opinion, it does not do a very good job. Like, there's some scenes of, like, yeah, with, like, vibranium and stuff. Like, they have,
okay.
yeah, and, like, there's a bunch of scenes, like, I don't know if you remember, but there's a whole section where, like, Thor goes and swims in a pool, and he has visions of, like, the Infinity Stones and Thor Ragnarok and stuff. It just felt very out of place. It was, like, really clunky setup. But otherwise, it's still entertaining. The team still has good banter. I would agree with Alicia, what she said in the chat, that I think this film's probably mid. Or maybe good.
I agree with that. I agree with mid. I actually agree. I think we need to fill up mid a little bit.
Okay. And the tier list is linked in the description, by the way, if anybody wants to do this along with us. Yeah, let's stick that in mid, because we haven't had anything in there. Alright, next up we got Ant-Man 1.
This one was... This is another movie where it's just kind of meh for me. I didn't really like it too much, but I didn't really hate it.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Like I said, the villain is another one-off, which is something I really don't like that the MCU has been doing. Because out of 1, 2, 3, 4, pretty much every single movie except I guess Thor has introduced Loki, every single villain has showed up once and has been killed off, or then something happens to them and they never come back. So once again, it really has that trope with, what was his name, Yellow Jacket? I think that's his name. Yeah, it kind of has that issue for me. With him.
Though I do have to say, like, it made me realize the problem with having a reoccurring villain is that if you have them get defeated in every appearance, then then they can't be taken seriously in future movies and shows. Not saying that that excuses one-off villains, though I do think one-off villains can still be good. But
yeah, I agree.
It just depends on the writing.
Really like this one. I just didn't really like the villain in this one, and I thought the writing was just kind of... It felt boring. It was a boring movie for me.
So I rewatched this movie this year in preparation of Ant-Man 3, and I actually really enjoyed it. I like that it has much smaller stakes compared to the rest of the MCU. It's just a small heist movie. It doesn't have the universe at stake, or the Earth, or the multiverse, or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think the characters are entertaining. I like Scott Lang a lot. He's funny. He's easy to root for. Like, he's an underdog, and
yeah, I like Hank Pym actually. I think he's good.
Yeah,
I
like him too.
Mentor character, and I'm glad he does not get killed off like immediately. Like,
yes.
he actually lasts, which is nice.
Yeah, that's a good
Because a
point.
lot of mentor characters just like die, and I don't really like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I'm glad he stays around.
I I want to put it in good. Though with your
I don't mind that.
all right, yeah, we'll put it in
I
good
don't mind
then.
that.
I definitely think it's better than. Honestly, I think it's the best out of all the movies in good. Like better than Thor, Hulk, and Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
All right, next up we have Captain America: Civil War.
Ooh. What do you think about this film?
I love it. I think it's one of the best MCU
Really?
movies. Yeah.
Honestly, no, I'm trying to think. Trying to think of a way to conflict you, just to torment the audience.
Oh no.
No, I'm kidding. But
No.
no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I do like it. I think it's good. I think it's a good movie.
We're on Civil War,
trying-
Alicia.
I thought Black Panther's introduction was really good. I thought he was
Yes.
introduced really well in this film.
For sure.
Spider-Man was introduced pretty well. I thought Vision and Scarlet Witch were characterized here a lot better. I thought I thought they gave time to every character at a good, like, reasonable pace. I thought the characterization and the time they gave to each character felt good. And I actually really do like the final conflict. It's really good. The one thing I do think is, because I know a little bit about the Civil War comics, and it is a completely different, like, the story is basically completely different.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes sense, because, I mean, Captain America dies in those comics, so...
Like the comics, I heard they have like almost every like Marvel character, and obviously that just would not be possible.
Yeah. And a lot of them die, so...
Mhm.
But, you know, they get brought back and everything like that. It's weird, but... Yeah, I actually do like this film. I think the plot is good. I think everything is set up well. The conflict between the characters is done really well, because Iron Man and Captain America obviously have conflicting agreements,
Yeah.
such, and I think it works well for this film.
Yeah. The conflict between the two sides is my favorite part of this movie. It's the
Yeah.
conflict between, like, should we give up all our power to the government? Are we too irresponsible with what we're doing? Are we doing more harm than good? Or, like, do we need to be kept in check? I like that it actually deals with the consequences of previous movies, because there's a lot of collateral damage that goes on. And even though it's all set up by Zemo, I still think that works really well, because I think Zemo is a very compelling villain. He's just a guy. He's not a super villain. He doesn't have a bunch of powers. He doesn't want to destroy the world. He's just a man that had everything taken from him, and schemes in a brilliant way to exact his revenge. And I really like that this movie kind of subverts the typical versus formula. Like, do you know how in a bunch of versus movies, the heroes fight, and then in the third act, they team up against, like, a bigger threat?
Yeah.
Like, Batman versus Superman, they team up against Darkseid.
Yeah.
Or no,
I thought-
Doomsday.
Yeah, I thought the fact that it was left, kind of, everyone was scattered and everything like that. The Avengers were kind of broken in half completely. Was
Mhm.
done really well, and
Yeah.
I think it's a really good film. Actually, I really like it.
Yeah,
I didn't really like Zemo too much, actually. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there were parts of him that were a little bit inconsistent, but a lot of the scenes are really well done.
yeah.
Like, there was impact to them. For example, Bucky killing Iron Man's parents.
Yes.
There's still a scene that traumatizes me to this day, where a guy gets he gets drowned by like a sink that slowly
yeah.
builds up. I don't know if you remember that. That's
Yes.
still in my memory. That like, it's, there are some scenes in this film that are kind of traumatic. But it's good. I think it's really good. I think either peak or great, honestly, for this one.
I want to put it in peak, but I have to take your thoughts in consideration.
No. We can put it in peak. I'd say we could put it in peak.
If you're cool with that, then I want to put it in peak. In my mind, it does a lot of what Age of Ultron and Iron Man 2 are doing. Like, it also sets up a bunch of future movies. Like, it sets up Black Panther and Spider-Man, and it even sets up Infinity War to some extent. Like, think about it like this. Because the Avengers were divided, that's how Thanos won. It's likely that if the Avengers were still united, that they would have been able to defeat him in Infinity War. I think that I like that this movie had consequences. I like that it dealt with consequences of previous films. So yeah, that's why I like it a lot.
Yeah, I like it too. I think it's really good. I agree.
Alright, next up, Doctor Strange.
This is the one MCU film from the first, like, 3 phases, which I have not seen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Alright, well, I guess I'll have to go solo on this one. So, I would say the biggest issue with this movie is that it does feel formulaic. It borrows a lot of the same beats as other MCU origin stories. Like Doctor Strange in the beginning, he's very similar to Tony Stark. You know, he's just an arrogant guy who you know, he goes through a traumatic accident and gets superpowers basically. But I still think he's a very compelling character. I think Benedict Cumberbatch does a great job portraying him. I think this movie uses magic in a really cool way. It has a lot of cool magical abilities that differentiate it from other franchises that use magic, like Harry Potter, for example. And I also really like the third act, where it's not a typical hero versus villain with same powers. Strange has to use he has to defeat the villain with a more intuitive way. It's a more interesting final battle in my opinion. I think this movie is good, but I know a lot of people like it.
Nice. I'll put it in good as well, I guess. I don't really have an opinion on it.
Alright. Let me see if I can put it in good before I fall off this conveyor belt.
Oh.
Doctor Strange is good. Make gameplay vids, not just ranking vids for Jailbreak. I don't know, I feel like gameplay vids are pretty boring. Like, when I'm making videos, I'm kind of thinking, like, what would I like to watch? And I don't like watching gameplay videos. Because, like, if I wanted to watch gameplay videos, I just play the game myself. That's kind of my thought process. Some people can find, like, interesting stuff that goes on, like Napkin Nate. Or some people are just very skilled, like Brownie. And so it's entertaining to watch them. But for people like me who just, you know, we're not very good at the game. Nothing out of the ordinary goes on. Like, it's just hard to come up with ideas for gameplay content, and I don't think it would be very interesting.
Yeah, I think... Actually, going on gameplay videos, I think if you've watched one gameplay video, you've pretty much seen them all.
Yep.
Because Jailbreak doesn't have the most, like... It doesn't have, like, the most... I guess a lot of games are like that, but... A lot of them don't have, especially Roblox games, they don't have the most advanced or, like, a lot of... They don't have a story, for example. They don't really have, like, too many features to the point where you can make a solid series out of them. I think what Pixel does is really fun, though. Because he doesn't really, like, base it based on, like, actual gameplay. He makes up scenarios and stuff. And
yeah, I think that's pretty
good
cool.
editing as well.
Yeah,
I agree, like... A lot of the gameplay is just... I'd say just play the game yourself.
Yeah.
I think you'd have more
I agree with you.
than watching someone else play it. I think like update videos and talking about like the game is... I think that's more interesting, I guess.
Yeah. And when I was using my Mac, the reason I didn't make gameplay videos was because it was like an actual pain to record while...
Yeah.
Yeah, so... Anyway, next we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
I love this movie as well.
I do too. I think it's great.
It's peak, I think, personally.
I feel like the plot...
Okay, maybe not. I
feel like the plot holds it back a little bit. Like, the movie really... it does slow down a bit when we go to Ego's planet and Peter Quill
Yeah.
is like interacting with his father.
I love
Also,
Yondu.
Also, I do think
Yondu's
this movie suffers from some of the worst tonal whiplash in the MCU. Where like there's this scene where the Ravagers are getting killed by Taserface, which is like it's brutal. We see a scene of people getting like kicked out to space and left to die.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
then we immediately cut to like Baby Groot doing stuff.
That is
which-
true. The tone is really strange in this one.
Yeah,
But I feel like a lot of the same things where it's the visuals, the characters, everything else is done really well here. I think I agree with the tonal issue, and I think Ego's a fine villain.
yeah, I
I
like
don't
Ego.
think he's one of the better ones, I would say. He's pretty fun. And I do like what Star-Lord goes through.
Yeah, and
I'd say-
Yondu and Rocket are great, of course. The Rocket's good in all of it.
I personally find it really. I'd put it in peak, but if you want to put in like high tier of great, I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, I'll put it.
I think.
Actually, I don't know if I like First Avenger more than this one or not. I'll just stick in great, but
Okay.
I might reconsider that. Okay, next we have Spider-Man: Homecoming. Now I don't know if this is a hot take or
It's
not.
a really good movie.
Potential hot
Actually,
take
this is a
incoming.
Pretty good movie. What is it?
I think this is the best live-action Spider-Man movie, even better than the Raimi ones.
Don't. I don't know. I don't agree with that. But
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a subject for a different time, but
the lightest.
yeah, I like it a lot. I think Peter Parker is a very compelling protagonist. Tom Holland plays him really well. I think Vulture is an awesome villain. I think he's one of the best villains in the MCU. I like that his motivations are very simple. He just wants to provide for his family. He doesn't want to blow up the world or anything like that, which I keep saying over and over again.
He's the one villain. He's one of the villains where his motivations are actually, they're decent. I think they're good. I think they're good motivations.
Yeah.
Not good in the sense that like he's a good guy or like it's a good thing he's doing, but it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, and I think he's played really well by Michael Keaton. Do you remember the scene where he's in the car with Peter Parker and the green light? Where he subtly hints that he's figured out his identity. I think that's one of the best scenes. So. It's an awesome scene with a lot of tension. Yeah, I just like how down to earth it is. It's very grounded, very relatable. I love Peter Parker. Yeah.
It's a really good movie. I don't know if it's peak though. I don't know.
I would put it in peak,
like...
but I think we should put it in great because of the conflating opinions. Okay, next we have Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, I love this movie
so much. I love it too. It's so entertaining.
Good. It's so fun to watch. This is probably the most. Is it? Actually, this is probably the most fun.
This is the funniest MCU movie.
It's
without
so
a doubt.
good. The writing is good. The humor is good. And they redeemed Thor. Thor's an actual character now.
Bro, oh my God, Thor's stock after this movie was like top of the world.
I know. It was so good.
Oh man.
I really, really, really love this movie.
Everybody agrees. Tina agrees. Daredevil agrees. Okay, No Good Nick agrees. This goes in peak. No question about it.
I agree.
Next up, Black Panther. Like I mentioned, this was the first MCU movie I ever saw, so it does have a special place in my heart, and I do think it's quite good. I know a lot of people think it's overrated.
Yeah, it is. I personally think it's overrated. The fact this thing won 3 Oscars is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I don't think it was good enough to justify the Oscars, but I still quite enjoy it. I think
the villain's actually really good.
Oh yeah, of course. Killmonger's
He's probably one of the best.
He is one of the best.
I agree. I like it for that, but I think the story, and honestly, I don't really like T'Challa too much. I mean, no, I like him, but I feel like his characterization wasn't the best.
I do like T'Challa. I do think he's like overshadowed because the rest of the cast is so entertaining to watch. Like Shuri and Koye and Killmonger, they're all very charismatic. Where like T'Challa's he's more of a subtle character, I think, but I still like his journey, his interaction with the wrongdoings of his father, and I really like that Killmonger. He actually makes a change in a way because like he was created because Wakanda did not do much for the world. So he in a way forces the protagonist to change and hopefully leads to more good by the end of the movie. So I think
his motivations are good. I think his motivations are good even if he is a villain, but yeah. Gollum is pretty good in this movie too.
I think this movie's great. I know you don't think it's as good, so I think we should put it either in low grade or high good.
I'd say, seeing everything else in great, I'd say probably no. I'd say it's in great. I'd say it's in great.
Also, real quick, can we just talk about how good of a year 2017 was for the MCU? We got Guardians 2, Thor Ragnarok, and Spider-Man Homecoming. Like, in my opinion,
really good movies.
They're all fantastic MCU movies.
Yeah.
But 2014 also gave us Guardians of the Galaxy and Winter Soldier, which those are also two top 10 MCU movies. So
yeah.
Alright. Next up, Avengers Infinity War. In my opinion,
this is peak.
Absolutely.
Peak. It
might be the crown jewel of the MCU.
It actually might be. I agree. I'd say this. I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I like Guardians of the Galaxy more. Actually,
I think Guardians and Iron Man are still better because of the standalone factor. But
I don't know. You could probably watch this. I guess not. I guess it's kind of a build up to everything. But
yeah, when I watched this movie, I had only seen Black Panther, Civil War, and the Guardians movies. I still like understood it, but there was still a lot that like I felt like I didn't fully appreciate. Like I didn't fully appreciate Iron Man in this movie because I hadn't really seen much of him.
Thor in this film.
If
you thought him and Ragnarok in this film, if you thought him and Ragnarok was good,
bro, I'm crying right now. Oh my god.
He was that scene where he finally arrived in Wakanda.
Okay, we can talk about the positives all day. I'll give you one negative real quick. I don't really like how Infinity War and Endgame have used the Guardians of the Galaxy.
There weren't two.
I think Gamora. I think Gamora and Rocket were good, but I think like Drax was almost completely ruined by these two movies. Like they just turned him into a joke, and his interaction with Thanos could have been far more interesting than they ended up being. And Star-Lord is he just gets a bit too disrespected, I think. As someone who enjoys his character.
I think they were trying a lot to like focus on every character, so I felt like the Guardians kind of got a little sidelined. In a way. Because there were like 24 different like superheroes in this film.
I get it. Like I really admire how this movie handles so many characters, and for the most part gives them like fantastic character work.
It's funny because this movie had 24 characters, and they did a better job with them than you know what. We'll get to that.
Okay. All right. Wait, why is... Alright.
I'll wait.
Alright, yeah, that will be... We will get to it. But yeah, next up we got Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I remember watching this after Infinity War, and it was okay.
I like it. I think it's fun. I like the first one. I appreciate that it was smaller stakes.
The writing was very basic in my opinion, but I do like the chemistry between the characters.
Yeah. It's not overly ambitious. It doesn't try to do much, but for what it does, I think it works decently well. Honestly, I think this movie's good. but I
Yeah,
know.
I'm fair with that.
Okay,
I actually think it's mid personally, but
you know what? We
mostly.
can put it in mid. Do you think it's better than Age of Ultron?
Uh, yeah, I'd say so. I think Age of Ultron's pretty convoluted
All
when it
right,
comes to its actual story, so I wouldn't mind putting it there.
all right. We'll put it in mid above Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Captain Marvel. I watched this movie again recently
I don't like this movie.
to prepare for the Marvels, and yeah, I liked it a lot when I first watched it because I was pretty young, and I thought the action was so cool. But it does
Captain
not work very
Marvel
well.
is probably Captain Marvel is probably the biggest waste of a character that I've ever seen.
I don't think she's a waste of a character because I don't think there was much that could have been done with her to begin with.
Yeah,
I
guess.
think introducing her to the MCU was just a huge mistake in general, and I don't think she's after seeing the Marvels, I don't think she's brought anything to the table.
They were trying to introduce her as like this power, like the most powerful superhero, the one that could like stand up to Thanos, but then
Yeah.
they decided to do something completely different with her, and it just didn't really work.
They were trying to set her up as also like the next lead of the MCU, like how Tony and Steve were the main characters of the MCU, but obviously they haven't really used her much. I think she's a very bland character, personality-wise. There's just not much to really grasp onto, and I think her power set really breaks a lot of MCU movies in the past, where like she could have been brought in to like help with Ultron. I bring up Ultron in particular because he was about to destroy the Earth.
Yeah, I remember that.
There was no excuse for why she didn't show up.
He like brought up like all that land and stuff, and he was wreaking havoc.
And like I mentioned, we saw in What If what would happen if he did succeed. He would literally almost destroy the multiverse. So
pretty much. Yeah.
Come on, Captain Marvel, where were you? I'm sure nothing was more important than that. Yeah, this movie, aside from Captain Marvel, I think it's fine. Like there's some entertaining characters. Like I like Talos the Skrull, but I think failing to introduce a main character is pretty poor showing. I would say this movie is honestly, I think it's bad because before I thought Iron Man 2 was worse.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we got.
Yeah, I'll put it in bad as well. I was gonna put it in mediocre to be generous, but
yeah,
I actually did not like this movie at all. Like there was nothing. Captain Marvel wasn't likable. Her character wasn't like special like the other ones. Like there was nothing really. I didn't really like her.
Alright, next up, Avengers Endgame. So this is an interesting one because Nick is not as high on this movie as a lot of people are. I'll let you go first on this one.
I thought this film had a lot of potential, and I think a lot of it was wasted. I thought the story was a little messy the whole time. Like the whole time plot in the middle was really strange. I liked the beginning. I thought that was cool, and the ending was pretty decent. But the middle just felt very convoluted, and the only two characters that I actually really liked in this film were actually three, I guess. It was Captain America, Black Widow, and Iron Man. And that's because they were actually given like proper endings, and they were actually given like some sort of, I guess, characterization in this film. Everyone else just kind of sucked to me.
Even Hawkeye?
Like, Hawkeye was okay. Hawkeye was decent. I wish they gave him more screen time.
I would say I would definitely include Hawkeye in the four. I would definitely say he's one of the better treated ones.
I mean, for example, Hulk. Kind of just he was demolished in this film. They didn't really do anything with Ant-Man. Like he came in, like in a way, yeah, he really did help, but they didn't really show that too much. Thor, I don't even want to talk about. Thor depresses me so much because I actually really like Thor, and the fact that they just kind of ruined him in this film it made me upset.
Yeah, but here's the thing with Thor. I understand that they wanted, like, I understand what they were going for, but turning him to like a complete joke was just
They could have done it better.
Yeah.
I actually think that Luke Skywalker was done better in The Last Jedi than Thor was done in this film.
That's a strange comparison, but yes.
It is a comparison. It is a comparison, personally. But probably the worst character for me in this entire film was probably Thanos. Because any motivation he had, anything that he had in the first film where he actually had, like, we got characterization. He talked about his planet. He talked about, you know, he killed his own daughter. He had remorse. Like the very ending with him at the farm. And then what happens is in the first 5 seconds he's killed off, and then we get 2014 Thanos, who is a completely different character, and very similarly, just he doesn't have any character. He's just a big bad guy. He doesn't really like. There's no characterization. There's no reason why he wants to do this. I guess there is, but I don't know. I feel like, I mean, he does more damage with his little spinny blade than he did like with the Infinity Gauntlet. Yeah,
that's always been weird for me. Though someone did bring up an explanation that I thought made sense, was that like Thanos in Infinity War was kind of holding back. He didn't want to kill unless he needed to, because he was, I guess, a bit more sentimental, and also the stones were draining from him, so he just wasn't as powerful because he had to carry so many Infinity Stones. But it's still a weird discrepancy, I think.
I don't know. I don't. This movie, like, after watching Infinity War, I thought it was a very convoluted and messy movie to me. And I know a lot of people really like it, and if you watch the MCU, like, it's a good ending. It is a good ending.
Yeah, it's your ending.
Yeah, exactly. But
wow, Alicia hates Thanos' sword. Didn't know there was so much.
It sucks.
Why?
Like,
what's so bad about it?
It shredded. Like, it had no reason to shred through Like, the impact. It was. The hammer scene was pretty cool though. The worthy scene was nice, but I don't know.
Here, let me give you a quick fix.
Really like this one.
Let me give you a quick fix for the shield being destroyed. What if Thanos destroys it with the Power Stone? Would that have been better?
I would have agreed with that. Oh yeah, Captain America gets one shot and then she just gives up. So that was kind of funny. I liked that part. That part was funny because I don't like her character at all. So I liked that part. That part was nice. What else was there? The final battle was okay. I thought it was fine. I thought the choreography was pretty decent.
I think the biggest issue I have with the final battle, as someone who loves the final battle, is that I think visually it's very uninteresting. It's just weird.
So much happening on screen.
It's like brown and dull.
It's
and like I get
video.
Wow.
I had to throw that in.
Yeah.
I like making fun of that man in any opportunity I get.
He wants your approval so bad. Like, he's always picking.
I don't know why. I actually want to ask him. Like, I don't know why. I'm not your target audience. Leave me alone. I didn't watch your videos, please.
No, he's gonna keep pinging you every time he uploads a new video. All right.
He's gonna be like, "What are your thoughts on this new video?
What are your thoughts on this new video?"
I'm gonna say, I should say the same thing because I bet he hasn't changed anything in each one. Because I watched his new video and it was basically the same as the other one. He was like, "Oh, this is way better."
Dang.
And
yeah, I didn't really watch it. I just saw part of it.
Yeah.
Whoa. Anyway, as for Endgame, I'm someone who's I would say I'm on the much more positive side. I largely think it works really well, though I do agree that I don't like how Thor and Hulk are handled. I think Hulk, like, we deserve to see him get some payback against Thanos, you know, after he was humiliated.
Absolutely.
And the fact that the conclusion to his, like, years-long character arc of trying to balance Banner and Hulk, the fact that it was done off-screen is just disgraceful, man.
Yeah, it would have been cool to see.
But I do think it handles the other 4 Avengers pretty well. And I actually do like Thanos. I like Thanos in Infinity War more, but
Yeah.
I still think this Thanos works. I bought the motivation that he had, which was like, he saw how the previous Thanos failed, and he was he was kind of motivated to just be more extreme, I guess. But that definitely led to a more one-dimensional villain.
I was very disappointed with this film. That's what I'm gonna say. I didn't really. I don't know. I was expecting more from it.
Yeah, definitely
like,
fair.
To be the big conclusion. To me, this was basically my conclusion to the MCU. So for it to disappoint me was, especially after
Unfortunate.
Infinity War. I like Infinity War. It was unfortunate for me, but
Yeah,
I think this
if it were up
pretty
to me,
overrated.
if it were up to me, I think I would put it in great. But considering what you're saying, I think we should put it in good.
Yeah. I agree with that. I wouldn't say it's mid though. I'd say it's still a good movie, but I think it's a good movie, not a great movie for me at least.
Yeah.
And this is where I have no idea what else happens. So
All right. Well, you should stay around because you can judge based on my description of everything whether it's worth watching or not. All right. Next up, Spider-Man: Far From Home. If you like Tom Holland and his version of Spider-Man, I think you will like this movie. It's probably one of the most divisive like Spider-Man movies. I know a lot of people don't like that he's like more Iron Man adjacent. I think that's what a lot of people dislike about this movie. But if that doesn't really bother you, I think you'll enjoy it. I quite like it. I think the way that it handles like Spider-Man coping with the death of Tony Stark is pretty compelling, and I think Mysterio is a great villain. He's fun to watch, and I like that there's a bit of subversion to his character that you might not expect. So I honestly think it is great, which might be a hot take for some people, but I quite enjoy it.
Seems like a good movie.
Yeah,
I've seen clips of it, and I think it's good.
I think you'll like it if you want to watch it. And one thing I'll say about this movie is that I appreciate that it actually wanted to, like, it had some level of wanting to treat the characters with respect. So basically, the one thing that happens in this movie is that Mysterio, he fools the whole world into thinking he's a superhero. And we all know that Nick Fury would not fall for that. And this movie knows that. So they actually do a twist with Nick Fury that explains how Mysterio could get away without Nick Fury finding out, which I actually really respect, and it's something that the MCU doesn't really care about nowadays, like keeping character motivations consistent and understanding their intelligence, basically. So, it's just a small thing I like. Anyway, next we have the start of Phase 4. Man, this is where things went off the rails. First up, we have Wandavision.
I've seen clips of this one.
The first 8 episodes were great. I thought it was very interesting. It made Wanda and Vision a lot more. It made Wanda and Vision much more fun characters. I think. I think the way that it handled Wanda's grief of losing Vision for the most part was done pretty well up until the final episode. That's the thing, though. This had a pretty bad final episode, and that really brought this show down. It was doing so good. The hype was insane. It was really building up to be something special, and then the final episode just almost completely ruined it. Yeah, wow. I don't know. And this is something we're gonna see a lot in the modern MCU, is that pretty much all the finales suck and really damage the show retroactively. So I would put it in good, because the first 8 episodes are excellent, but the last one really drags it down. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably one of the only shows that's worth watching, but for disappointment if you ever end up watching it. Just know that going in. You still there?
Hello?
Hello, you still there? I kind of lost you for a sec. Hello?
Yeah, I think you lagged. I think you lagged out a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Oops. Yeah, I think it was an internet problem.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, next up we have the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This show was pretty disappointing because it should have been an easy win. I was expecting a funny buddy comedy with Falcon and Winter Soldier. Instead, we got a weird plot line with weird character interactions, and some pretty bad villains. Probably some of the worst villains in the MCU. I would say this show is mediocre. Zemo's in this show. He's awesome. John Walker's introduced. He's a great
That's
character. Bucky and Steve are, or no, sorry, Bucky and Sam Wilson. They're entertaining at times, or for the most part, I would say. But I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff that goes on. Yeah, I'll put it in mediocre. Next up, Loki. This is probably widely regarded as the best MCU series. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it doesn't treat Loki himself very well. He's pretty lame. Like, I think the filmmakers forgot just how powerful he was. Like, he gets beaten up by random guys in one of the episodes where, like, he's strong enough to take a hit from Captain America, which was kind of strange. Also, this show introduces the TVA, which are like this multiversal organization that like controls timelines and stuff, and I just don't really care for them. I think they're very uninteresting characters, and I don't buy them as people who are meant to protect all of time because they're just pretty incompetent. They don't even have guns. Like, how am I supposed to? How am I supposed to? How am I supposed to buy that they're like guardians of the multiverse when like? If they had to fight against a Thanos level threat, he would destroy these guys. Yeah, I was largely disappointed with it. I don't think it handled Loki very well, at least the first season. So I would put it in mid. Or maybe mediocre. Because I did enjoy Falcon Winter Soldier more. I think you might enjoy this show, because a lot of people love it.
Wait, Loki?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Owen Wilson, so, you know.
He's fun.
Or, sorry, no.
Yeah. Like, I'm Dr. Radium's an MCU fan. He likes it. A lot of people like it. So you may enjoy it, but I kind of disagree with them on this one. Alright, next up, Black Widow. I think this movie's pretty bad, unfortunately.
I was gonna see it because I kind of like the setting. I thought the setting in Russia was cool.
Yeah.
But I didn't bother because I think I was gonna see it and then COVID hit and then I never ended up watching it. So
I would not say it's worth watching. It was not a good movie. Black Widow doesn't really get much. Like, I don't really see the point of this movie. Everything that could have been explored with her, I think, was done sufficiently well enough. There was an interesting idea to like discuss her past, but I don't think this movie does it very well. And the third act is just a disaster. For some reason, this movie introduces an organization that's been in the MCU the whole time and like secretly controls a bunch of stuff, which like doesn't make any sense. And the third act happens in this like flying sky base when this was initially set up as like a spy thriller. It just feels really weird, really out of place. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like this movie very much. I would not recommend you watch it. Next up is What If. I don't know why What If is here because it's not really canon. I think it's good. It has some interesting scenarios. Like I mentioned, the Ultron episode is pretty cool. There's also an episode with Doctor Strange that I also recommend if you ever decide to watch it. Other than that, it's alright. Next up, Shang-Chi. I really like this one. This was the first good movie of Phase 4. I thought it has excellent action. Like, it brought a bunch of like kung fu to the MCU, which was very fun to watch. I liked Shang-Chi himself. This movie has one of the best villains in the MCU with the real Mandarin, aka Wenwu.
Wow.
Yeah.
I heard Shang-Chi was good.
Yeah, I think you like it. The only problem with the biggest problem with this movie though is the third act, because there's a thing that happens where like for some reason they introduce a big monster thing that they have to defeat and it feels out of place. But I still thought it was good. I think I'll put it in grade actually. I think I really enjoyed it.
I've heard really good stuff about it, and I do like the actor, the main guy.
Yeah. He's good. I'm annoyed that we haven't seen more of him. Like, one of the biggest problems with the MCU nowadays is that we have to wait forever to see the characters again. Like, I don't know when we're going to see like Shang-Chi or Moon Knight or who's someone else? I don't know. Shuri from Wakanda Forever. Like, there's no telling when we're going to see them again. But like with the MCU in the past, we only had to wait like a couple years at most before we saw Thor and Steve and Tony again. Yeah. Next up, we have Eternals. This is the most controversial movie in the MCU. This was their first Rotten movie on Rotten Tomatoes. A lot of people really don't like this one. I think it's pretty good. I love the visuals. I think it's shot gorgeously. It has really good CGI and action scenes. And
I've seen the Lego sets go on sale so much.
oh my gosh. I don't know why they're still around. Like, bruh.
I like the red guy. The red guy is cool.
The Celestial?
The big red, like, yeah, that guy. I
Yeah.
thought that's a cool looking set.
The Celestials were probably the biggest highlight of this movie. I thought they were done very well. They were majestic and threatening and just a really cool addition.
Cool.
The biggest issue with this movie, though, is that it tries to introduce 10 brand new characters, and
Oh.
a lot of them are just
yeah, that's
very...
true. There's like...
Yeah. A lot of them are just very uninteresting. You can introduce a bunch of characters in a movie. Like, Lord of the Rings introduces a ton of characters, the Fellowship,
I love Lord of the Rings.
and even Guardians of the Galaxy introduces 5 new characters. But they're still handled really well. Like, there are some characters that are enjoyable, but most of them are pretty dull. I don't expect we're ever going to see any of them ever again, because this movie flopped, and it's very poorly received. Or not very poorly received, but like I said, it was controversial. I would say this movie is good. If you ever feel like it, you could check it out, because, like I say, it's divisive. There's different thoughts on it, so
like,
you... Yeah.
A lot of people have said this is like the worst one.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
You might like it, but I don't know, it's 2.5 hours long, so there's better stuff you could do with your time.
Yeah.
Alright, next up, Hawkeye. A lot of people love this show. I thought it was pretty dull. I didn't care for it all that much. A lot of people love Kate Bishop, who's like the replacement Hawkeye, basically. I thought she got on my nerves a bit too much. Also, they bring in Kingpin in the final episode, and I think he is handled really poorly. They just turn him into a complete joke. And this is a big problem with Marvel. Like, they've done this with Kang, and they did this with Kingpin, where they introduce a villain that's supposed to be a long-term threat over multiple projects, but they just get completely humiliated in their first appearance, and I'm like, how am I supposed to take them seriously in their next interaction with the heroes? But yeah, I would put it in mid, because it's not terrible. There are some enjoyable aspects, but I didn't care for it as much as a lot of people did. Like Tina, she enjoyed it, which is definitely very fair. A lot of people think it's a fun, like, you know, lighthearted Christmas adventure. I think probably if you watch this, I think you'd like it well enough. I don't know if you'd love it, but you'd probably like it more than I did. All right, next up, No Way Home.
I'm surprised I haven't seen this movie still.
Yeah, I think this is one that you need to watch. To be honest,
I feel like I should. This and Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
yeah, those two you should watch.
Yeah.
I love No Way Home. I just rewatched it recently. Still holds up. Yes, the returning Spider-Man are great. Oops, sorry, I spoiled it for you.
Oh no.
Yes, they're great, but I think what's even better is how they help supplement Tom Holland's character arc. Basically, there's some stuff that goes on which like it nearly leads Tom Holland to go down a pretty dark path, and I think the Spider-Man serve a really good role in like helping guide him away from that and show him kind of a more positive outlook, I think. And I think this movie ends Tom Holland, Peter Parker, in a really good spot. I think the initial setup of the movie, which is that Doctor Strange tries to do a spell to make everybody forget about Peter Parker's identity. It's a very poor setup. It doesn't make any sense with Strange's character. That's easily the worst thing about this movie. But besides the initial setup, I really enjoy it. I think it's great. It is easily my favorite of... Actually, no. Werewolf by Night is my favorite of the post-Endgame MCU. But out of the movies and shows, I would say this is the best one.
Were you peak or...
I don't know. Like I say, I think Homecoming is still better. So... I think I have to put it in great because the initial setup, like I said, it's very flawed and faulty. But the great stuff in this movie is really great. And if you've seen the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield movies, then this movie is really special. If you haven't seen them, then this movie's not going to work that well. Like, that's another, I would say...
Yeah.
That's another thing of, like, you know, standalone versus stuff you need to watch beforehand. By the way, have you seen all the other Spider-Man movies?
Yes, I have. And
okay.
I really like the Raimi trilogy. I didn't really like Amazing Spider-Man at all, really.
Did you like Andrew Garfield?
I thought he was okay. I thought some of his scenes were really good, but then some of them were really like strange. Like it didn't really fit his character.
I actually think this movie also made the Amazing Spider-Man 2 better. Especially with how it used Electro. Like, Electro gets a huge glow up, both in appearance and in, like, character. And I think Andrew Garfield is... oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say, but, there's actually a scene in, Amazing Spider-Man 2. So, you know Jamie Foxx?
Yeah.
He's got a gap between his teeth.
Oh, where the teeth come together.
They animated his teeth coming together when he became Electro. Like, they specifically animated that. Which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, I love that. I love that that's a thing that exists.
It's so funny. It is so funny. But, yeah. I've heard that, I've seen the scene where, he catches MJ, and I thought... ooh, I thought that it was pretty good.
Yeah, I really like that scene. I think you'll like this movie. You should watch it.
Okay.
Alright. What's up, Leon Nom? Yes, we are discussing Phase 4. Alright, next up, we have 2022. In my opinion, this is the worst year the MCU has ever had, in terms of content quality. This year's probably the worst when it comes to, like, project performance. Like, almost everything flopped and lost money. But I think this year was the worst when it comes to, like, actual content, because everything was disappointing or bad. Like, that's how poorly things were at. First up, we have Moon Knight. I really enjoyed this show for the first 5 episodes, but the finale really messed things up. I thought Oscar Isaac did a great job portraying him. I thought the villain, played by Ethan Hawke, was pretty good. And I was very invested, but the final episode was pretty bad. It was very rushed, and it basically turned into a big kaiju battle, which felt really out of place. Yeah. Yeah, I was pretty let down by this show. I would say it's good because I still enjoyed a lot of it, and I don't think the finale was as damaging as like WandaVision's, but still, I think this show was very, very flawed. Uh, you could watch it, but honestly, I would not say it's a must-watch. All right,
Yeah.
next we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, another really controversial MCU movie.
I've
But
seen a lot of polarizing takes on this one.
yeah, it's largely. I mean, I think everybody agrees it's disappointing, but a lot of people still think it's like good. But there's several people that think this movie's pretty bad. I think there's a lot of enjoyment to be had from this movie. Sam Raimi directed it, and there's
Yeah, that's one thing I want. That's one
yeah.
of the reasons I wanted to go watch it was because of Sam Raimi. But
Yeah, I think his direction is the best part of this movie. It's very fun to watch visually.
yeah,
Like, there's a lot of cool camera movements and transitions, and if you're a Raimi fan, then, I'm not too familiar with his stuff, but I could tell it was very stylized. However, as for, like, the way that characters are used and the usage of the multiverse, it's pretty disappointing. The movie's called Multiverse of Madness, but the multiverse is only really shown in like a quick montage, and the universes that are visited are very uninteresting. There's a universe where like you can go on red and stop on green, and that's basically as wacky as it gets.
wow.
Yeah. Across the Spider-Verse, that deserved the title Multiverse of Madness. Also, Wanda, I don't know, a lot of people feel like her character was ruined in this movie. I think her performance is good, but Wanda herself is kind of meh. And Strange himself, I don't know. I'll put it in good. I still think this movie's pretty good, but definitely very disappointing. Next, Miss Marvel. This one,
I've heard the CGI in this one sucks.
yeah. I don't think it's that bad. I don't know. We're about to talk about She-Hulk, so.
Oh god.
But anyway, for Miss Marvel, I really dug the first 2 episodes. That set up Kamala Khan. She was a very fun, relatable young character. She's a lot like Peter Parker. And I thought they introduced a bunch of like fun side characters, and I really liked the New Jersey setting. However, in the middle, the show suddenly decides to go globetrotting and introduces the worst villains in the MCU. Even worse than the Dark Elves, even worse than the Flag Smashers.
Wow.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. Like, their motivations are ridiculous. They don't have any cool powers or abilities or anything like that, and they get defeated in pretty lame ways. To me, this is how I describe it. It's like if you're watching Spider-Man: Homecoming, but in the middle, Spider-Man suddenly goes to Europe and fights Mysterio, like the plot of Far From Home. That's how I describe it. It's really jarring. I really couldn't believe what I was watching when I was first watching the series. I was like, "What? How did this happen?" Like, it's insane. I've never seen anything like it, where like a show completely flips into something different in the middle. But
wow.
I don't know. I still enjoy the first 2 episodes, and I like Kamala Khan, so I would say the show's mid. This next one really breaks my heart.
Oh. I was actually gonna see this one because I do still like Thor, and I thought, hey, maybe they did something better with him.
No,
And then I saw
spare yourself the
reviews,
pain.
and- yeah.
Don't bother.
And I heard that Christian Bale wasn't even that good either. So
No, he was good. He was good. He was just wasted, though.
yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. He was still good. This movie was an absolute disappointment. The most disappointing movie in the MCU, without question. I was so excited for it. I love Taika Waititi. I still love Taika Waititi, even after this movie, because he still made a bunch of great movies like Jojo Rabbit and Hunt for the Wilder People and Thor
Jojo
Ragnarok.
Rabbit is so good.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
I was so excited to see how Christian Bale and Gore were going to be used. And I was excited to see where Thor would go next. I know that they had a hiccup with Endgame, but I was hoping that this movie would kind of restore him back to Ragnarok glory.
Yeah.
But alas, no, that's not what we got. Instead, we got a completely messy movie with a villain who, his title is the God Butcher, but he only kills one god, and it's out of self-defense. We don't actually see him butcher any other gods. Thor is a complete joke. I think this movie like almost completely ruins him. He's like insanely stupid for no reason and just incompetent. And I don't know. I know a lot of people didn't like the tonal imbalance. That wasn't really my main issue with this movie. I just think like on a plot level and on a script level, it just doesn't work. It's really disappointing. This, in my opinion, this marks the true downfall of the MCU. It's the reason why so many of their movies and shows are underperforming. The Marvels flopped. I think this is where a lot of people decided they're done. Because it was a colossal disappointment and a huge waste of a bunch of ingredients that should have worked.
Wow.
This could have been something special, but it was special in all the wrong ways. So, I don't know. I think I'll put it in garbage. This movie is pretty bad.
Wow.
Yeah. It really breaks my heart.
I bet it does. I haven't seen it, but I've heard a lot of like, I've heard really bad things about it.
Yeah. Alright, next up is She-Hulk. Look. When they announced it, I was actually interested. I'm down for like, you know, if stuff is meta and it's funny, sure, I can get behind that. A legal comedy set in the MCU that, you know, has weekly cases dealing with superheroes, stuff like that, sure, why not? Problem is, the show was not funny really at all. I think I only laughed like 2 times. The courtroom scenes and the courtroom dramas sucked. The writers admitted that they couldn't write compelling courtroom scenes, so they like intentionally trimmed them down. And I'm just like, what? Like, why were you hired? What? Why? And She-Hulk herself is incredibly unlikable. I think she's also one of the worst characters in the MCU. Of course, the CGI. We don't need to talk about the CGI. Everything that's been said about it has been said. Yeah, this... And the finale was just like... I don't know. Finale was something else. She talks to Kevin the robot. Yeah. The show was not good. Okay, next we have Werewolf by Night. So, Alicia, this was a special presentation, which was basically like a 50-minute short film. I really liked this. I think it is, without question, the best project in Phase 4. It just did a good job of being like small scale. It was very visually and tonally different. Like, it was all black and white, and it was really mature, and I appreciated that. And it was really simple. It had a bunch of fun characters that I enjoyed watching and hope to see more of. Overall, it was just executed really well, and I hope to see more content like it. Honestly, I'd put it in peak. For what it does, it's goated.
Should I watch it?
Yes, you should. Yes, it's only 50 minutes, so yeah, you should watch it.
It's not that bad.
Definitely not. Alright, next we have the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. This was like also like a 50-minute prelude to Guardians 3, basically kind of establishing where the Guardians were after Endgame. Like, it basically showed they purchased Nowhere from the Collector, and they were, you know, It kind of gave some insight towards the relationship. It was fun. It was cute. I'm not super high on it. Like, I don't think it's anything amazing, but it was still enjoyable. I would put it in good. For what it was, it worked pretty well. Okay,
Nice.
then we have Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Honestly, I feel like this movie's kind of forgettable. Like, I don't really remember much of what I think about it. Like, I think it handles the grief of Chadwick Boseman's passing very well. I think we get some incredibly powerful performances with Angela Bassett, who plays his mom, and Shuri. She's a great character in this movie. And Namor, he's a good villain. Unfortunately, the third act is pretty bad, which is disappointing that two Black Panther films in a row had mediocre at best third acts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this movie's okay, but I don't know. I don't really feel a desire to watch it again. I don't know if it's worth watching. Maybe, I don't know. You'd have to ask someone else. I don't have much to say on this one. I'd put it in good, because it's better than Doctor Strange and Eternals and Moon Knight, but it's still not great. Alright,
Yeah.
next up we have Quantumania. Superficially, this movie was entertaining, but it was not good. The goal was to introduce Kang the Conqueror, who's like meant to be the next big villain of the MCU. And it does not do a good job of that. Like I alluded to earlier, he gets defeated in an incredibly humiliating manner. And this movie basically tanked all the momentum he had going into it. And Ant-Man and his family, they don't have any character arcs or development or anything like that. This movie just felt like a waste of time, to be honest. Like, I didn't feel like anything was accomplished or learned, or I don't think any growth was achieved. I don't know. I still had some fun watching it. It's like a bad Star Wars film. I mean, not as terrible as like Rise of Skywalker, but you know, it's still like kind of entertaining to see these weird creatures and stuff. But for the actual movie, I don't know. I didn't really care for it. I would say it's pretty bad. I don't think it's as offensive as Thor, but I think it's a pretty bad movie, and I don't recommend watching it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Next we have Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not as high on this one as a lot of people are, but make no mistake.
I heard Rocket had really good characterization in this.
Yes. He's the best character in the movie. This movie has a great villain as well, with the High Evolutionary, who's just like this cold-hearted.
Adam Warlock was the.
He's like a side villain. He's not.
Okay.
I don't know. He's like, a lot of people think he's one of the weakest parts of this movie. I don't really mind him. I think he's funny. He mainly serves as like comic relief to some extent. I don't know. There's some things I don't really like about this movie. I think there's a whole section that I think it's comparable to like the Canto Bight part of Last Jedi, where like they just go off to this planet and do stuff, and it's just kind of it doesn't really accomplish anything. You could have easily written a way around that. So stuff like that does drag it down a little bit. I do think this movie's a bit too long. It's 2.5 hours, and here I really felt it. But otherwise, it still serves as a really good conclusion to the Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it handles them really well. It redeems Drax, who, after Infinity War and Endgame, I wasn't a huge fan of because I thought they didn't treat his character too well. I think Rocket is used really well in this movie, and overall, everybody gets a satisfying conclusion. I definitely recommend watching this one. Nick, I think you will like it a lot.
I think I will too. I just need to get around to doing it.
I'm basically like the only person you're gonna see. Like, my opinion you just heard. It's probably the most negative you're gonna see about it. Which is saying,
Wow, that's...
yeah, it's saying a lot. I basically think of it like this. The way I view this movie is kind of like how you view Endgame. Though I would say I'm still more positive on this than you are about Endgame. So
Yeah, I don't like Endgame.
you just said
Well,
it was
I like
good.
it. I think it's good, but it is good. It is good. It is good. It is good. But I don't like it compared to other ones.
Yeah, I would say this is easily the weakest out of the Guardians movies, but it's still a good one. Definitely still worth checking out. So I would put it in good. Probably, yeah, I'll put it right behind Endgame because I do like Endgame more than this movie. All right. Next up we have Secret Invasion. This is a terrible, terrible piece of art. Calling it art is offensive to the word art. It is horrible. It completely destroys Nick Fury. It does not make any sense at all. And the finale, it introduces a character who like destroys anything in the MCU when it comes to like power scaling. Like basically there's a character that gets all the powers of every superhero in the MCU. Like Hulk, Thor, Captain Marvel, even the guys from Infinity War, do you remember the guys that were helping Thanos, like the guy with telekinesis and
Oh
the
yeah,
Hulk
yeah,
dude?
I do.
Yeah, yeah. Even those powers. Yeah. Like, I don't know how they thought they could release this.
That is...
It is genuinely horrible. Like,
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. I don't know what went wrong when they were making this show, but it's like, oh my, how the mighty have fallen. Definitely garbage. This is without question the worst project in the MCU.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and Tina brings up a good point. And such bad deaths. She's right. They kill off Maria Hill, a fan favorite, in the first episode, and it's like a complete waste of her character. She wasn't that interesting a character regardless, but she was still like fan favorite, and I was hoping to see more of her. But they completely waste her, and they kill off Talos as well, and for no reason. Like nothing beneficial comes of it. It just feels like a complete waste, and the show ends in a worse spot than it begins. Like, Nick Fury, he's called in to help deal with some Skrulls, and the situation gets worse at the end. I don't know, it's just absurd. I can't believe that. This is like one of the worst things I've ever seen. I know this is pretty extreme, but there's like almost nothing good about it. So it belongs in garbage. And do not watch this one. Okay? Or maybe watch it if you wanna gain a better appreciation for like good stuff. If you wanna see how bad things can get. Maybe I
think I'm good.
Maybe it'll make you appreciate Thor: The Dark World and Iron Man 2 more. Because after stuff like Secret Invasion and Thor: Love and Thunder, it's made me look back upon like what I thought were the worst MCU movies and be like, they weren't that bad. Anyway, next we have Loki Season 2. I think it has a lot of the problems of Season 1 and that, like I mentioned, the organization, the TVA, they're just not that interesting. They take up a huge portion of the show, which, I don't know, I don't really care for them. However, this season really improved with Loki. I think it ended things with Loki in a really good place. I won't spoil it, but I think it ultimately justified bringing him back. I would say this season, I would say it's good. I found it to be better than Season 1, and this was the rare case of a finale actually making the show better. Whereas every other, like literally every single finale beforehand had made the show worse. It was ridiculous. All right, and that brings us to the last project, The Marvels. Um,
Have you actually seen this one?
yeah, I watched it. It was pretty bad.
Okay.
Mm,
Mm,
there's not really much to talk about here. Villains sucked. Characters weren't like Kamala Khan was fun, but she didn't really like get a character arc or anything. Uh, there were ideas here that they could have grappled with, like Captain Marvel. She does something to the Kree like planet that messes things up, and dealing with the ramifications of that could have been good, but the movie doesn't really explore that. I don't know. Really, I don't have much to say on this one. I think rightfully it's not doing very well at the box office, and hopefully it's going to pressure Marvel to change because things have really gotten to a bad point. And like I said, after 2 movies and several appearances in the MCU, Captain Marvel's still like a really uninteresting and pointless character.
yeah. Wow, we actually got through it all.
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought this would take longer because remember it took us a while to get through all the Star Wars movies, but we got through way more projects in less time. Or actually more time, but still this was shorter than I thought.
I think what's really funny is that in 10 years between like phase 1 to 3, there was actually less content made.
Yeah.
In like 5 years from phase 4. I mean, are they on phase 5 now or?
Yeah, they're on phase 5, but phases don't really matter.
Yeah.
They haven't really ever mattered. It's just been like a fan thing. But even more so, it's basically just all the same thing.
Right.
But yeah, out of the post-Endgame content, I would say the stuff you should watch is Far From Home, No Way Home, Guardians 3, and Loki.
Okay. Alright,
Yeah.
alright.
Everything else you can just skip.
Sounds good.
Oh, I'm fighting this eye monster.
Oh boy.
Have you fought him before?
Oh, the eye monster. Wait, let me look.
He's called Observios.
Oh, I have not seen this.
I saw like people got a pet from him, or like this weird eye effect over their avatar. So they must have gotten it from this battle.
Cool.
Ah. Oh no, I died.
Cool. He's using like the overseer stuff.
He's the hardest boss. Yeah, I expected that because I think he gives some pets and effects as a reward.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, let's go through the tier list one last time. In peak, we have Iron Man, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Infinity War, Guardians of the Galaxy, Civil War, Thor: Ragnarok, and Werewolf by Night. In great, we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Captain America: The First Avenger, The Avengers, Spider-Man: Homecoming, Spider-Man: No Way Home, Black Panther, Spider-Man: Far From Home, and Shang-Chi. Then in good, we have Endgame, Guardians 3, Ant-Man, Thor, Hulk, Wandavision, Iron Man 3, Doctor Strange, Wakanda Forever, Moon Knight, What If, Eternals, Multiverse of Madness, Holiday Special, and Loki Season 2. Are you cool with all the placements so far?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Alright. Then in mid, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp, Miss Marvel, Age of Ultron, and Hawkeye. In mediocre, we have Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki Season 1, Thor: The Dark World, and Iron Man 2. Then in bad, we have Captain Marvel, The Marvels, Black Widow, and Quantumania. Then in garbage, we have Thor: Love and Thunder, She-Hulk, and Secret Invasion. All good?
Yup.
Alrighty, well, thanks for joining me. I know this was kind of long, an hour and 45 minutes, and this was a lot of projects to go through, a lot of which you have not seen and had to just rely on me talking like nonstop. But really appreciated you joining me. This was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't really talkative in like the second half.
No,
I just don't really...
no problem at all. I wouldn't expect you to.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for joining me for this and for the Star Wars one. Maybe next time there's a DC movie, we could do a DC tier list.
I haven't seen too many, but we can try, I guess.
I actually have not seen a lot of the DC EU. Like, I didn't watch, like, Man of Steel.
Yeah, neither have I.
Yeah. Thanks, Tina, for tuning in. It was fun having you here. Thanks, Daredevil. Thanks, Scarlet Begonia. Thanks, everybody watching. And yeah. Hopefully I'll be back next week with a live stream discussing the Season 19 submissions. And real quick, guys, real quick, let me put a poll. Are you excited for Season 19 Winter? What do you think, Nick? Are you excited?
If they add what I want, then yes, I'll be excited, but I kind of wish they did a different theme.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know.
I still hope we get like a proper winter vehicle, so I'll still take it, but
yeah.
After this, we probably should not get any more winter themes.
Yeah, if they redeem it this way, then I think it'll be fine.
But yeah, let's see what the people are voting. So not many people watching right now. We got 7 votes. 4 people vote yes, they're excited. 3 people say no, they're not excited.
That's fair. I've seen like 50-50 on this.
Yeah, this seems like it'll be a pretty divisive season. What was the last time there was a universally acclaimed season? Was it season 17 European?
I think season 17 was pretty.
Because I know.
Solid.
I know, like, the last season, a lot of people didn't really like it. I know that the summer season, people didn't really care for that one either. But people did like Japanese, so I think we still have.
Like Japanese.
I think we still have a bunch of seasons that people still largely enjoy. So
yeah,
that's good.
I actually didn't think the Wild West one was too bad.
Yeah, I liked it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I guess all the compartments were taken. So, this is it. Bye-bye, everybody.